This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So Matt, you're probably going to make fun of me for what I'm about to say, but this episode I've honestly been thinking about. I was thinking about it all last night, all this morning, and my number one goal getting through today's show is to not cry.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. I am really excited. I have no idea what we're talking
really
about.
Excited?
But hold on a second. Let me go get a box of tissues. Do you need some tissues?
Yep.
Because the worst thing I like seeing is a grown man with snot running down his nose because he's so emotional.
No, so what I joke with Valerie all the time, hey, you know what? You're never going to see me cry, but I do cry. I'll just cry by myself.
Did your wife tell you that you guys are moving to Texas?
Oh, my gosh. that is not.
We're going to have a cry fest here today?
That probably would make him cry.
That would probably make Christine cry.
Did you watch The Notebook last night or something?
No. So something that we get to do as real estate agents, and it's so exciting, is help people move into their first home. It's like the next phase of their adult life. Oftentimes, as they've gone through college, or they've worked hard. Maybe they didn't go to college, but they worked hard, and now they're excited to be able to buy that first home. And then we help people move from their second home to their next home, move out of state. Like there's all these moves that take place in a person's life. But today we are talking about the final move. The move where, see, it's already getting me. The move where they're going to die, essentially. And so on the show today we have Christine G. I apologize, I cannot pronounce the name. Christine G. with Senior Care Solutions. And so thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Christine, being in the profession that you're in, obviously Johnny could not hack it because he'd be
absolutely
emotional.
Not. Yeah.
Do you find yourself getting emotional on a regular basis and crying, or do you try to keep a level head because you're supposed to be the person of reason and taking care of responsibilities?
Yeah, I try to keep it together with the families that I'm dealing with, but there's often times where I go into the car and the tears come.
Oh, wow.
Because this...
can you give us an example?
Yeah. I think some of the most difficult clients are where the person's a little bit younger, and they're struggling with dementia, and family who may not have the resources to pay for the care that they want them to have, or, there's just so many stories that we've seen over the years where the family's breaking down and I'm trying to hold it together for them, or maybe it's an end of life. I mean, that we're really close to the end, and sometimes we're the first people who talk about, have you had the conversation about putting your loved one on hospice? And just hearing that word sometimes is really emotional for the family, but they know sometimes it's what needs to happen.
Wow, yeah. I'm like Johnny. I don't think I could do it. It'd be so emotionally draining because I would be invested in every family and I'd carry that weight. And
some nights are hard at the end of the day if we've had a lot of really tough clients. But then the flip side is, what I think helps us keep doing it every day is, the stories where we've made life so much easier, so much better during this difficult journey. And we get those kudos all the time.
Yeah. So you have a job where you get to help people. So there's that emotional drain that it's tough, but at the other end, you get to help them and serve. And so there's a lot of reward in that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And so before we get too far into this show, I do want to clarify that everything that Christine provides and Senior Care Solutions provides is free of charge. So if you're hearing us talk about the services that her company and she helps with, don't be thinking, hey, I can't afford that. That won't work for me. That won't work for my situation. Everything she does is free. It's free 99. So please listen. Please share this with family members if you know anybody that's going through this. But basically, we've talked a little bit about, the sadness behind it and the situations you're in, but people are probably wondering, what is it you do? You mind just explain a little bit about what it is your role is, your
Absolutely.
job?
So the company, Senior Care Solutions, we've been in business. We'll be celebrating 28 years in January. Wow. I've been with the company almost 18. So what we do is we help families navigate the whole senior care journey. So that can be anything from helping them find in-home care resources to a lot of what we do is finding senior care and senior living options for them when they can no longer remain at home. Yeah. We do a lot of education in the community. We give back a lot. I'm on the board of the Parkinson's Association. We work a lot with the Alzheimer's Association, Del Oro Caregiver Resource Center, but we connect families and help them navigate this journey to make it as simple as possible for them.
Because it's scary. This is like the final move. I don't know how many homes I've gone in where it's typically the wife and she's by herself. And there might be some kids helping her out, but typically they're moving her out of this home into, the end of life situation. She may be healthy. She may be fine.
Right.
He may be healthy. He may be totally with it, but they're just, either they don't want to live or they can no longer, they're no longer safe living by themselves. And so we go into these situations, and it is scary because there's like hundreds of different.
Hundreds, yeah. So in Sacramento County, there's well over 500 licensed care facilities, anywhere from smaller residential care homes to larger assisted living. Placer County, it's 200 to 300. So in our area, there's literally 800 to 1,000 care options just to consider, and so people don't know where to start.
But just because there's 1,000, that's not 1,000 good ones,
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
How many would you say? Like, how many do you typically refer to out of that? Like, percentage-wise, would you say? Is it 10% really good, or?
Probably, because there's, as I say, there's something for everyone. I might like a facility for my mom, but it might not be what's best for your mom. So there's probably 30% that we would refer to.
Okay.
We're aware of all the options, but we definitely know the ones that would be a preference. So,
in fact, I connected you with somebody in Roseville. She had fallen, she'd injured herself. He's totally fine, and she's on the road to recovery. But they're seeing the writings on the wall, and so they're wanting to preemptively move into a care facility, a more active care facility.
Right.
And so they're interviewing and they're reaching out to people, and that's where you would call Christine. You'd say, "Hey, Christine, this is what I'm looking for," and because you work with all these different facilities,
Absolutely.
you know exactly where to place them. It's like a real estate agent, but for care facilities.
Exactly.
And similar to a real estate agent, you're not typically paying the real estate agents when you buy the home, right? Typically, it's the seller that's paying that fee.
Right.
When you move into these care facilities, that's how Christine is able to offer this for free. Those care facilities are the ones compensating her.
Right.
But even if, and this is what I love about Christine, even if they're not going to compensate you and it's the right fit for that person or that family, you still place them.
Absolutely. Yeah. We contract with almost all the care facilities in the area, but there is a small percent that don't contract with anyone because they're nonprofits or whatever it may be. And we still refer there if it's the right fit. So we know that ultimately doing the right thing for the families comes back, and that's what we want for the clients. So.
And so situations that I've run into are it's typically the mom. The mom has been living by herself for a few years.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the kids start seeing things change, and things are changing more rapidly than they were even aware of. They may fly in, they may start spending more time with mom. They're like, "Oh my gosh, she's her mental state has deteriorated more than they were aware of."
Right.
So at what point, is there ever a point that's too early to contact you, or what point should they reach out to Christine?
Yeah, we love families who are proactive and start looking ahead of time and being prepared for those crisis situations, because, inevitably a lot of the calls we get are in a crisis, and that's not the best time to make decisions. But
what would be a crisis situation?
So, I think about my mom a little bit in this scenario, and I'll try not to cry myself, but we, during right before COVID and then at the beginning of COVID, we saw her cognitive status changing. And, us in the profession tend to be a little bit more in denial when it's our own family member. But my husband and I were talking, and we, especially the first 6 to 9 months of COVID, seeing her decline because of the isolation. She was living in her own home, a mobile home in a senior community, but nobody was conversing anymore.
Yeah.
And and sometimes the crisis happens and it can be a little bit of a blessing. So in our scenario, she had a minor stroke, and she was very resistant to leaving her home. But at that point, we used that, although she was, it didn't impair her a lot, but it impaired her enough we knew she was not safe to go back home. And we used that crisis to get her to agree to go to assisted living. And she was very still resistant, as most people are, but within 2 to 3 months, she had acclimated, made friends, and was doing really well and started to call it home.
Wow.
And the miracle of that was we took her into her neurologist, and her cognitive scores went up.
Wow.
And he was like, this is really strange. I didn't think it was strange. She was now getting 3 good, proper meals a day. She was getting her medications timely. She was getting social interaction. So for her and for many of our clients, it becomes a really positive thing. But it's hard initially to see that. So
yeah, I can't imagine like if that day ever comes for me psychologically. Okay, Johnny, I just can't live by myself anymore. And then knowing that, hey, the end is around the corner, that has to, play and have an influence on why they don't want to leave the home.
Sure.
A little bit in denial. So you have a great story of somebody who reached out to you. I believe his wife had early onset dementia, and this was but he was like, hey, I want to get this handled up front.
Sure.
Can you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So he was a working attorney, and his wife was diagnosed with early onset dementia at 59. Wow. He contacted me, came and met with me, and he said, I just know there's a lot I don't know and how I'm going to go through this journey. And we walked that journey together for almost 6 years. So we initially brought in home care so he could continue to work. He tried adult daycare, and that lasted for a while, brought her back to just in-home care. But all through that journey, he was looking at care facilities because he knew there would come a day.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it was he was prepared. So he called me 6 years later. We had been talking the whole time. And he said, today's the day. He said, last night I came home, she didn't know who I was, and she got violent with me. But he already knew where he wanted her to go, and we just had to institute and get her over to the care facility that he had already chosen. The sad and full circle part of that was I recently this year got a call from his ex-wife, who is his responsible party. They remained really dear friends after they divorced, and he now needed my assistance. So,
wow.
We do this journey with families often more than once, for in-laws or sometimes the own person who helped place their family member. So,
man. But that just speaks to, again, you don't have to call Christine while you're at the hospital or right after a stroke has happened. Contact her up front if you see things going on with your family members
starting to change.
And starting to change. Mm-hmm. What are some early signs that you could share with people who are I think my family member might have an issue, or they might be having some decline in mental health? Mm-hmm. What are some tells that you could suggest to us?
Yeah, I think, oftentimes we start seeing our family members tell us the same story over and over, start having a little bit difficult time remembering to make it to doctor's appointments or to take their medications properly. I think that was one thing I was really concerned about with my mom is she taking her meds every day? So I would do her medication trays, but I'd pop in throughout the week and make sure that, Tuesday's medications were taken when I visited on Thursday. So there's a lot of little things. And, looking back, sometimes we don't want to accept those as we're seeing them. But yeah, a lot of it is just, you telling them you're popping by the next day and them forgetting that you had told them that. So little things like that, and start wanting to maybe get that evaluated by the primary care doctor initially.
So are there a cognitive test where they can establish a baseline?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple different ones. One's a mini mental status exam. One's they call it a MOCA. And it's typically a 30-question, very simple screening tool that they use, but it gives a baseline of how the person's doing cognitively. So okay. So if you have any doubts, have them perform the cognitive test, and in worst case scenario, you have a baseline. Best case scenario, you have a baseline. Worst case, it's hey, this is more advanced than we thought it was. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then too, the important part, and it's difficult because we don't want to brand somebody, but getting an early diagnosis is important because there is some medications that can slow the process of somebody with a cognitive impairment. So.
Okay. And so when we come back, we are going to be talking about hospital ejections, and how Christine can help.
Thinking about selling your home? Want to put it on the market, but you don't want to go through all of that staging, open houses, those much needed repairs? There's an easy and simple way to do it. Just reach out to Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty. Here's what'll happen. They'll get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Sound too good to be true? They've been doing it for a lot of our listeners, and they can do it for you. All you got to do is Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty today and get more for your home.